Well, I think we are live. Are we live? Well, I feel like I'm live. Well, welcome everyone and welcome to our webinars. Let's do that. Let's get started and let's get started. Ableton Live SPAT Revolution, here we go. And presented by myself, Hugo Larin. Yes, a French Canadian, not a real French one. The company is completely French, but I'm the French Canadian part of it. And I will have as a guest today our specialist on Ableton, a composer, creator, Arsene, which you may know from our community because he's quite active on that front. So yeah, let's just dive into this. We'll do a quick introduction on what SPAT Revolution and Ableton Live is all about, and we'll then join our friend Arsene, who's actually on standby down there. Be ready to join us. Oop, little Et voila. Okay, so what are the Ableton Live Tools? I guess that's the first question, everyone, are asking each other, what are those? Well, basically, it starts with a free sets of custom build devices. So, understanding, the challenges to actually get, simple setup, rapidly, get a workflow going with spatial audio and Ableton Live Tools. We've developed these actual, sets of custom build device really to make this easy, and this is what we're going to talk and show you today. We simplify the installation for the ones that are already familiar with SPAT Revolution or any software from FLUX, for that matter of fact. These templates, these devices gets installed from the FLUX Center. Later in the presentation, we'll jump in the FLUX Center. Simple as installing them, updating them. You don't necessarily need to manage anything outside of that. Now we're going to be integrating this. We're going to primarily talk about bridge audio device today. So yes, sorry for our Windows friend, but here's we're talking about single machine, typically single machine Mac OS computer. And that's the beautiful thing with Mac and Mac OS is the wide availability of what we call bridge audio device, an audio device to bring from a software to another. I'm not saying there's no solution that exists in Windows, but they are limited. They have limited channel count. We are crossing our fingers. Is that how we're doing this? Yeah, we're crossing our fingers to see, let's put some pressure to our black hole friends there. We're hoping to see the black hole folks come with the same solution they've had on Mac OS, but for Windows. That said, nothing prevents you guys to use this in Windows, but we're going to be talking here about using your ASIO driver and a dual computer setup. And yeah, dual computer setup may, sound, complex for some of you, but the dual computer setup means as well having a dedicated machine if you're doing live performances as well. If you've got heavy Ableton sessions, offsetting the spatial audio processing, is an interesting way actually to make sure you've got, very, very solid, robust setup. So yeah, dual computer setup using traditional, core audio on Mac or ASIO driver. This is what is behind us here. And we have complete documentation on all this, YouTube tutorials, a user group that you can ask questions. We'll come back on those at the end. So Ableton and SPAT Revolution, right? What we do with this, we bring the object-based mixing to your workstation, right? With the limitation of, of possible buses and panning techniques and so on and so forth. In Ableton, you basically, let's call it merge or insert SPAT Revolution into your workflow to bring object-based mixing. By object-based mixing, we're obviously meaning spatial audio, we're meaning Atmos, we're meaning creating content for binaural audio or for any type of loudspeaker arrangement setup. Maybe a quad in a club that you want to do a performance, or more, obviously, than a quad if you can. But yeah, that is the point. And actually, I should not forget, SPAT works very well in stereo as well, and we'll be showing this, how we bring, these possibilities. Two SPAT Revolution to choose from in that equation. We have the SPAT Essential, which is limited to 32 audio objects with 16 outputs. So good enough to do, Atmos, binaural, and many things. But then we have our full Ultimate software, which is ultimately just limited by audio interfaces, right? So Ultimate or Essential, the two little brothers will come back to this at the end. As I said earlier, simple setup, simple to use, simple to understand. That was the goal. And hopefully with your feedback, we can make it more simple than ever as we keep developing this. And the idea was to improve the workflow because it is a big challenge in immersive audio. Workflow gets complex, a lot of objects, a lot of channels. So the idea is, to improve that workflow for an immersive creation per se. And obviously, yes, we said it, right? Make the most of Ableton Live I would say, de facto for many, and not just in music creation. We see them in sound design and in shows as well, for show control more than actual pure, content per se. So voila. And we are doing this all powered by OSC, Open Sound Control. So this integration, the metadata that's moving in between is all using Open Sound Control. Let's talk about SPAT Revolution a bit, just for the ones that are maybe not familiar with the product and are joining us primarily from the Ableton world. What SPAT Revolution is all about is what we call an object-oriented spatial audio tool. It's a mix engine, basically. It replaces the bus of a console for advanced panning techniques, and not just panning techniques, reverberation engine as well, for creating a sense of depth, space in your actual mix, right? So it's more than just panning. It's actually the ability to tie reverb engine, room effect, and all this whenever you want, if you do want it. So very, very powerful, and we'll show this with our friend Arsene today. At the base as well is the ability to actually do virtualized production, I call it, binaural audio. So we call pure binaural audio, or virtualizing speaker arrangements that you may not have at your ends, at your tip. Maybe you're in a studio with either a smaller speaker configuration or just over headphone, and we very simply can allow that with SPAT Revolution. And then we render, we print, we deliver, various ways to say it, with various techniques, spatial techniques, and various speaker arrangement. So that could be for a specific one. Maybe you want to prepare the content for for something that will be playing out on a specific speaker setup, a quad, a 5.1, a 7.1, any custom arrangement, a dome, for example, for that matter of fact, a dome setup. So you could be baking the audio, right? By rendering, delivering, we mean returning this to be able to bake for a speaker arrangement. You record this, and then this is all what we call bake or print. Beyond that, obviously, we can't ignore the fact that you could be doing Dolby Atmos deliverable. Now, we won't discuss this today, but, understand the ability to create beds, and not just 712 beds, even larger than 712 Atmos bed, and eventually declare this as object for Dolby Atmos rendering and Dolby Atmos deliverable. So both the best of both worlds, you might be working towards with a creation for specific delivery, but then you may decide, you know what, let me make a version of, and that is very easy to do as we support, these formats, these arrangements per se. Then there's another conversation to have about Dolby deliverable, something I would love to do as a webinar. We had announced it, we had to cancel it last year. So that was definitely something to come. And well, ultimately, you could be deploying this live. We've talked about baking to being creation and binaural. And I said bake right on a specific speaker arrangement. That means that's actually baked binaural audio as well. Maybe your deliverable is directly binaural audio for Spotify, which doesn't have necessarily spatial audio, but you want to have a net phone experience on Spotify, you could definitely do this. And yes, the last point was deploying this live with an immersive reproduction system. A club, a show, something, you want to create a performance, you start to create back home, back at the studio, and then you get ready to deploy this live and do live movements with objects, have some interaction with these objects, not necessarily have this baked, but have you as a performer perform your Ableton set, but perform it with object that moves, and so on and so forth. Voila, and we kind of, voila, a little French, once in a while for you. And as we wrap this up, just to understand, for Ableton and SPAT, we use AU, VST2, and upcoming VST3 plugins. Yes, those ones aren't released. Our processing tools are, but the SPAT Revolution, not yet. Actually, our friend Arsene is on the VST3. I said, you know what, let's show a beta test at the same time, make sure it's rock solid on a webinar. So he's going to be using the VST3 version today. A default SPAT template we'll be looking at, which basically just allows you to go through SPAT, to start with your existing workflow, just in stereo. It's just go through SPAT in binaural and stereo, and that's it, that's all. And then you go from there and build and start to add objects. and our friend Arsene is going to show us this. Thanks to these actual devices that Arsene was responsible to develop, called the object sen. It's basically the object and all the parameters of the object per se, the source, right? Your track that becomes an object in space. We have to control the device for the room being the reverb engine primarily, and the master of, the level of the room, an actual master module to control your master, and last but not least, what we call the automator device, which sorry for that, then I'll leave my friend Arsene to dive into this in 2 seconds. Okay. So we're just about to start. Yeah, there's a little preview, seeing all this, all the little numbers there, all the explanation, which are on the user guide, which I'll show. A little send device. We have this little room device as well. We have a master control, choosing your output level. Obviously, everything can be automated. And last but not least, the automator, the automation per se, automator device. Good stuff. Good stuff. Are we ready to dive? A little 10 minutes just to get us talking. Our friend Arsene is already in hot on the other side. And let's see if our friend Arsene wants to speak to us today. Well, I see him unmuted. Hey, hello, Arsene.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you extremely good. What's up? As I said, I feel rusted. My hands are all like moist, like this feeling of like going on stage, standby 2 minute kind of deal. But you know what? You're the show today. I'm not the show. I'm going to get to, sorry for my language, but I was about to say shut up, but yeah, just to mute myself and enjoy something I have a hard time to do sometime, I know, but I'll have the pleasure to listen to you, to talk about this beautiful workflow that you've been working on. And as I was saying earlier, we welcome the community to bring feedback so we keep developing this. So yeah, we're going to be diving today, but diving in your world, the tools that you've created for SPAT and that we're actively working on, right? Yeah, and here you are in Tours in France, for the people that don't know where Tours is. It's just south of Paris and not too far from where our headquarters is in Orléans. And this is your new flat where you started to drop some gear. I see some speakers not connected yet, so you haven't done the quad yet. You haven't started to put some elevation.
Yeah, I do it. I do the quad when I need to, but like it's
on demand.
Like,
okay.
There would be like too much cables everywhere.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you big time. Well, if you are ready, I could be sharing your screen and jumping right into it. Let's see if that works. And that should work right there. And then we see the Ableton Live on the left side, well, on my left side, and SPAT Revolution. And on this note, I'll let you start to explain what we've got going here.
Okay, so maybe we'll start with the SPAT template, which is you will have noticed if you have already used the Ableton Live Tools for SPAT Revolution previously. It's a little bit different than before, just because we have some more routing going, because I have my mic going through live to SPAT to Hugo, so we have like a few things routed differently, but like basically there's still the live direct out, which goes there and goes to the main output, and we have like just my mic there, which is the additional thing I was talking about. And usual, the room one, which is like which doesn't have anything like connected to it besides the output.
Yeah, so we will get to anyway,
route
right?
stuff. Yeah. We will get to route stuff like in just a few seconds. But yeah, and on the left, we have my personal live show session, which today I thought like we were going. That would be a good idea to demonstrate how to transform a live session for actual live performance into something that works for spatial audio. Because in the Ableton Live Tools, tutorials and video, I was like very focused on just pure creation, and like this is a bit more of a hybrid kind of thing, so can show like how it can be applied to something that is going to be played live.
Good.
Okay,
And just so people
so
understand clearly, right? So the master of Ableton is going in SPAT. That is your first object, and that is our template, right? The first input, I should say. But it's not being routed into a room. And what a room is, for the ones that are in SPAT Revolution,
yeah,
right, is where we're actually getting to move objects. So this is just a straight bypass of the master. Why? Well, that just means that you don't need to have, I mean, it's just to simplify your workflow. The template is ready to go. Your master goes through SPAT. And now we're going to be showing you how to start to basically, I call this declaring object. That's a Dolby Atmos conversation, but basically saying, hey, that track is no longer part of the master, right? So this is what you're going to be showing us. I will actually make a track, decide that that track is going to live on its own, and still you'll be able to keep some of the typical stereo busting that you're doing. So that's what I love about your workflow, Arsene, is the ability to kind of have an hybrid of, well, nothing is changing. My master is there, but I can decide to pick 1, 2, 3, 4 object, 20 object, or if I'm crazy enough, do all my objects, right?
yeah. Okay, so should I start making some sound maybe?
You could start with some sound, and then we can start maybe to
Okay,
show how you're going to be declaring those objects. I think it's a good start. Or maybe you want to
okay,
briefly show your audio routing. We've talked about bridge audio, or we can maybe show this rapidly.
yeah, sure. Okay, so for the audio routing, basically like showed in the tutorials, we are still using Black Hole as the bridge between live and SPAT Revolution. So like Black Hole 64 channel is in my set as my output in live, obviously has all the channel enabled, and it is set, the same device is set as the input in my SPAT Revolution, and we have like a specific device I created to route everything to the stream today. So
Exactly. Yeah.
but
So
we
black
don't really
black.
have to care about this one.
Yeah, exactly. But on the output side, this is you sending to the stream, but that could be you sending to your loudspeaker system and so on and so forth. The goal
Yeah,
today is not to
exactly.
show every single configuration. We have built tutorials for this, so the goal is to make some music and talk about things and get to a Q&A, right? So, but just so you guys understand, indeed, we've got, this is how the audio is routing, and then and we'll go on, and if questions arise later on, we'll pick them up. So let's do it. I'm going to do what I was supposed to do,
Okay.
which is shut up.
No, you can talk. You can you can talk. But okay, so like you were saying a bit earlier, everything goes through that main like kind of routing we have here in the SPAT setup window. So if I start to send, for example, some audio in my session, we will have like this sound. Don't worry, it's like it's not glitches, it's actually the actual sound. And so it goes there. Yeah. And like for example, if I want to start create something, so let's say I have my synth like this, yeah, which has a bit of reverb. Let's cut this reverb and this delay. Okay. And let's start building like maybe some sound. So let's have let's create maybe a kick like this, and maybe some hats. And let's go with our shakers. Okay. Okay, like this. Let's remove the reverb and the delay. Okay, like this. Okay, maybe let's add some randomness to this. Like this. Okay. Now I can. Is it loud enough? Maybe you can tell me.
Yeah, it seems good to me. Anyone on the feed, if you want to, I think the level's good. Looks good to me anyway.
Okay. Okay. So we are going to start routing this. So I'm gonna start with the kick because I want to start with the kick. I don't have like any specific. You could be you could do something else. So instead of going through my master, now it's going directly into the 1-2 output. So let's attribute a new channel for this kick. So as I want to keep it like mono, I'm gonna just select one channel, so a mono channel. So it's going to like the channel 3. Let's tell the synth to like you were saying, shut up for a second. So we have the kick going into the channel 3. So let's create a new block, just like in the tutorial. It works the same way. So we select the channel 3 and we see we get the signal from the kick right here. And we just have to route this into the room. And now we have the kick. Like this.
And with the kick, put a reverb.
Yeah, weird stuff. You don't usually do that with a kick. But maybe you have some crazy idea. I'm not judging.
And put some reverb. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, up to you. Just important to know we are in stereo room right now. We are keep remaining in stereo. We'll show you guys later how to switch this to binaural or how to switch it to other things. But right now we're just in a stereo room. So now you're in stereo mixing of, well, the kick object you just created, but could be obviously more and more as time goes, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, the reverb is a bit much, but. Let's give it some tail.
Yep.
Just pure. Yeah, not actually a bad idea. Give it a bit more length. So let's then add maybe the synth. So this one doesn't really have. Maybe it has a bit of stereo, but like not enough for me to actually want to put like a stereo object there. So let's do channel 4, mono, okay, channel 4.
And we see signal.
Route to the room. Yeah, exactly like that. Okay, and let's do the last one, which are like the hat/shaker. Let's tell him channel 5. This, increase the volume, and route this like this. Okay, we are starting to have something. So now we can start placing like some send device again, just like in the tutorial. So let's put send on the first on the kick, which is the first object we have created. So it has the OSC index 1. Okay, a bit of a loading time. That's the thing that can happen when you use beta versions.
Well, it's the first instantiation.
Yeah.
The first instantiation takes a bit more time, indeed. And while this is loading up, just to explain that in this particular case here, the send, we call it the send, but it's actually the object control, right? It's called the send, the plugin send, because it does has some audio routing possibility, which we're not talking about today, which is our LAP, local audio pattern. But so it's called the send, but this is you instantiating control for that object, right? So that object you'll be able to control. Yeah. To control obviously your kick. We're talking about index. For the one that are not familiar with index, well, it's an ID. So ID1, ID2, ID3, they represent SPAT source 1, SPAT source 2, SPAT source 3. Actually, if you go quickly on your item list on SPAT Revolution, right, you actually can actually see number 1, 2, and 3. These are the index 1-to-1 map. So as long as you got the right index set, whenever we have a plugin loading, it's gonna load. Is it the demo effect? Maybe today's the demo effect. Oh yeah, it's going. I trust
No, it's not the demo effect. It's always happen with new versions.
It's loading up in his memory. So yeah, so these index,
Yeah.
index 1, index 2, et
Ah,
voila.
here we go.
Here we go. And
Sorry,
by
sorry.
default,
Here we
the plugin loaded with index 1. And then if we actually add some later, you'll see the index auto increase automatically.
Yep.
So the beautiful thing, if you do things
Exactly.
in orders, you never have to bother with index, right?
Exactly, that's the whole point, because in the main tutorial I was showing like classic workflow for creation, which is you don't have like a set plan for what you are going to make. You just make stuff, so you make it like one step at a time, so it makes sense to make it work like this. So yeah, and with the addition of like the VST3, like we can see here, it also like not only set the correct index every time you instantiate a new instance of that SPAT send, but it also get the name of the track and also send it to SPAT, so we get the actual name here, which is really convenient. Okay, so let's demonstrate. Let's show we were on the synth, and let's like add the send device as well here.
That was fast.
You can see it loads way faster. Yeah, because because we have loaded it once, and now it's going to be fast forever until we install a new version. But yeah. And it gets the name, and let's tell the hut as well. Here we go, and we can obviously control everything. Yeah, like this. Let's like put the hut a bit behind and maybe on the side, and the synth maybe the synth here, and there. Okay, and then we can start. So let's remove again this, because he had I shouldn't. Yeah, here like this. We can control like again like in the tutorial everything like this. We can mute the kick from here. Let's send a bit more volume. Yeah. Okay. So next step, we can show again like the automator device on maybe on that synth. Let's have a bit of a pendulum style effect. So let's put a sine wave and not too much depth, and map this to the azimuth like this. Oh, I actually have the headphones in the wrong. Yeah. Okay. So we have this. Let's make it a bit more slow and maybe increase the distance. Okay. And maybe let's show. Okay, so the automator is one way to automate stuff, but maybe in a live context you will have other. You want to maybe have an automation that match something specific with your clip. So let's say I want to automate that specific clip. So let's say it's like hot 16s, like let's say 1, because maybe we will create more variations and stuff like that. But this one we want to automate in a specific way. So let's make it like you would for like any other automation. So let's select the azimuth again, and we have this, and we can do that like this. and instantly. And we can stop this clip, and it will also stop the automation. Start the clip again. Yeah. And obviously we can control this from like here I'm using the Ableton Push, but I also have iPad application that allows me to control the same thing. So you don't have to have like something like Ableton Push or any other like launch control type. A simple iPad can do the trick. Yeah. Okay. So Hugo, maybe.
Well, I have the impression that would be a bit more fun. That would be a bit more fun in binaural audio. So maybe at this point you're like,
of course.
You know, okay, we have this object going left, right, but then as you were seeing, maybe you drop the volume a bit when I speak, just in case, so I don't scream.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, just to say. So what you were seeing, if we go back to the room page, what you were seeing there, if you get the ad going again for just a quick sec there, boom, get the ad in moving. And you see what's going on. There's an object that is clamped to a zone in the back, right? And this clamping is part of what we call an efficiency zone. Yeah. So when the object gets outside the efficiency zone, it basically clamps to the wall. Why? Because this is stereo. We can't do magic to create a sound behind us. And this is where we're going to be bonifying this by moving to binaural. So let's do that. So it's going back in the setup. Yeah. Change what we call the stream type to binaural. And that is done. The HRTF, let's go to the KMR, the KU100. Yeah, that's normal when he's taking a load on an HRTF. What are HRTF? Edge-related transfer function, different way to do binaural. So right now we just applied the KU100, which is a very common one in the industry, used in many places. We have a library of HRTFs of these different encoding, if you want, or ed-related tools for binaural. The default one that was loaded earlier, yeah, good stuff showing this. The default one that was loaded before was the actual KMR, which is the typical default. So we have binaural audio and we're good to go. And now you see there's no longer a clamp or anything. You're free to move everywhere. There's no more efficiency zone per se.
Yep.
If we stop this for a second, just going back on the automator, because you know what? That's one thing I don't do in my life is I don't play with Ableton Live. So this was the mapping, right? So you've added the automator module to an actual, to a sound, which had a SAN on it. We could see next to the SAN. And then after choosing what you want, an LFO, whatever effect on it and tweaking it, you've basically mapped it. So how did the map happen? Because that was fast for me anyway. That's trying to become,
like the for, sure. It's something like that Ableton user like use a lot. Usually it's the LFO, which is like packed in this audio effect rack. And you have like that tiny map button in the LFO window, which just like allows you to get to map that LFO to any parameters you want. It can be here, on this channel, on this track, but it can also be on like another parameter somewhere else in live. But here we have like the azimuth.
Can you do multiple? Can you do multiple ones? Can you do map to multiples?
We can multi-map, for example, to the distance as well, like this, and maybe like adjust the actual range, so the distance doesn't go doesn't go too crazy like this, like that.
As we're talking about distance, for the people that are new to SPAT Revolution, you see that little bubble around the head? It's called a protection zone. And we have this concept of distance attenuation. So SPAT is there as well to create a natural sense of attenuation. So as you double the distance from the head to the bubble, the signal drops by 6 dB. law of physics, right? And so that's an interesting concept. So you're no longer potentially mixing with faders. You're actually using the proper distance to get the proper attenuation. And it's more than level attenuation. It's air absorption simulation, 10K up, shelf, which actually brings, a very interesting way of mixing, right? You just move the object further, closer to you. We don't hear it too much now. Maybe you increase the volume a bit, but see what's going on. And it's more practical when we have reverb on this. Yeah.
So just back.
Yeah, that shows well. Yep. Good.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, so that shows well, and that explains the distance concept as well. So that's great. So yeah, obviously as the object goes further, right, the direct sound attenuates, but the reverb is, the what we call the omni portion of the reverb. The room is actually more present, giving you that sensation of depth all around you. And obviously that's not just for binaural, that is for speaker setups as well, right? So.
Yep. And on the subject of the room, we can also add directly, because we were on the subject to how to adapt a live performance like session to SPAT Revolution with that kind of workflow and tools. So we can go directly into the template of like the folder of the archive, which is provided, and like open the template of the SPAT default, and then slide that SPAT control group directly into the like the session, and we will get our like room control like this, and then we can have like this and try to different reverbs and stuff like this with the random feature of the audio effect rack from live, which can be like interesting.
Yeah. And the room allows you to, the room control module allows you to control the room level as well, right? And potentially even mute the room, I guess. You could mute the room, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're muting the reverb in this case, but mute the actual room itself. Yeah, that's it, like that.
Sorry.
Yeah. So room control, reverb. Yeah, the reverb is the activation of the reverb engine in all the room. And there we're talking about room control, not object specific. Exactly.
And we also have the infinite trigger, which can be a fun effect to use. Yeah. Especially for this type of music. Yeah. Okay, so maybe do we have like some question? Maybe
you want to go into Q&A now? I think that we could show. We could jump
just,
in Q&A
maybe
a bit.
Just, just like to not forget anyone.
Let's see. Let's see what we've got here.
From the start, I think I saw a question about like how to send a source only into a LFE channel, which can be interesting for a live session if you have like something that is like just a sub, and you don't want it to have like just the
LFE bypass. Yeah, an actual bypass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone understand, right? If we just lower the volume a bit, so everyone understand. In an object, and maybe we, before to talk about the LFE separate, maybe show on an actual track an LFE send. Now we are in binaural, and there's no LFE in binaural, so we could change to a speaker setup. We'll do this. Well, maybe that gets us to talk about just add a room. I guess we could just talk about the dual room setups or delivering to binaural monitoring, I guess, in this case. So let's just virtualize. So originally I was talking about virtualizing production. So now we're in pure binaural, but maybe the objective is for you to prepare something for, let's call it an Atmos. So whatever, let's go for an Atmos, maybe 714. So we're going to be changing this room to not a binaural, to a channel base. Now you'll lose some audio or whatever. And we're going to go 714. So one thing is going to change this on the rendering now is that you're going to be outputting to the system, and we lost some channel there, that's normal. But what we can do is in between the master and the output, yeah, so this is the same scene being rendered in binaural, but between the master and the output, what Arsene just did, he added a binaural monitor. So by unconnecting, yeah, you could, as you wish. So by connecting this setup to a binaural monitor, voila. So now we are virtualizing, we are virtualizing the actual 714 in binaural. Each of those speaker output, the 714, 712, I didn't see what you did, are being virtualized. So we're no longer virtualizing, doing binaural audio on the object. So that is a great way if you're preparing for for content, for a speaker arrangement. Could be your monitors, your studio monitor setup. So you're actually just virtualizing this for the moment, but later you'll remove that monitor and send straight to output and straight to the system, right?
Yep.
For that matter of fact, that can be done in parallel as well. You can have some output for your speaker setup, which would be the master direct, and then some outputs, which will actually be the binaural monitor. Let's say it's a 16-channel setup that you have. Let's say, well, 714 is 12, and then on channel 13, 14, or 15, 16, you'll output the binaural monitor, your virtualization for the headphone. So that is really you preparing for, a render of a system that you may not have with you, right? I'm using 714 an example, but that could be the system of a club you're going, or a system that you've designed with a few speakers all over the place, right? Good. But you wanted to talk about the LFE. So now that we have a room which is a 0.1 room, 7.1, there is an LFE send on the object, right? If we look at any object, the kick, for example, I'm going to move your head here. Right, so that send is that LFE is the .1 output. This is you sending to that speaker output, the 0.1 only. So you can control this in Ableton, right? So you can control it manually, yep. But we can
you
control
will
it
have to specifically, let's maybe create something that has like some sub and demonstrate that.
Yes.
So
and then we can do an LFE bypass.
Okay.
Yeah, good one.
Exactly. Okay, this has some sub. It has some subs. Okay, so let's route this like to channel 6. And channel 6. Get this in there. And then add a send, but this time we are going to add one of the alternate version, because if we go back on the basic one, you will see there is no LFE send on this one. So
important to note. So you have multiple devices. You have basic devices,
yeah.
Less controls, simpler, and then you've got these alternate version that have more controls, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly. This is also where you will find the actual LAP version if you need to use LAP instead of the audio bridge we were talking at the very beginning. So routing audio using virtual audio driver between Ableton and SPAT. Instead, you can use the FLUX source, you could say, and send that like using the LAP to hijack the audio directly from the track directly into SPAT. And send advanced. Let's go. Here we go. And as again, we see the correct index and the correct name. So then we can control the LFE, and you can actually see the LFE knob turning in SPAT as I am turning it in the live rack. Yeah. And at full volume, we can actually hear the sub going. Can you hear it? Maybe I can increase the
we
volume
can
a
hear.
bit.
Yeah, but in binaural monitor here, it's like, so yeah, don't try to increase it.
Yeah.
We're virtualizing, just extra low frequency. So, and that's where the conversation of the direct bypass interesting. We have some questions. Someone said LFE, so it's LFE, low frequency extension, or low frequency, sorry, effect. So someone asked a question mark on this. So LFE comes from the cinema. Maybe lower the volume a bit. Comes from the cinema. It's
yes,
because, well, in my AirPod Max, I can tell you I have a lot of low frequency extension. They did a good job at boosting that low frequency. So my head is rumbling. So the LFE question we have, yeah, low frequency effect, exactly. So the LFE, someone was doing a question mark on this, right, is being able to send to the sub channel as an effect. It comes from the cinema world to actually, send some content for, like, shaking the building kind. It's really for an effect. We try not to confuse this with, low frequency management and sub, which is another conversation, which is not part for today. So yeah, but that is giving you a way to drive what's being sent to that, let's call it sub channel. I like to call it an infra, right? The big double 18 in front of a stage that gives you, some oomph at some time, so you can drive what's being sent to that separately with that channel. So I think we had some other question. We can come back on performance and live shows a bit later. Live routing in Dante. Okay, well, we'll get back to those, I guess, when we are ready for the Q&A. So the reason to go to the speaker setup like this, Arsene, right, is really to show that, yeah, we can be creating that same scene that we've created in binaural is ready to be rendered. We have all the outputs. And he's showing the nebula. Why not? Nebula shows energy into space. Yes, that's a very practical one to see what's going on. This is a feature that comes from our software, analyzer software. Just rapidly show you a little something here. The actual FLUX Audio SPAT Ableton Live Tool page. There's a bunch of information there. You can see all the beautiful videos. So if you want to be reminded how to set this up, because this is not the focus on the session. It was not about setups and all this. This is all there. You have one covering the introduction, one talking about installation and setup, one talking about live projects, one is specific on rendering actually, and one that talks about starting on a single machine and then moving to two computers and how to do this. So great sessions that Arsene has built there. So, very practical if you want to understand more the routing, and feel free to hit our user group as well. Before the user group, the user guide here, very, very well. Well, actually, all the videos are there, all the text and going back and forth and animation. So that's good way for you to understand everything that's around setups and possible anyway with Ableton. Ableton Live. And another one as well is the FLUX Center. So where's that resource? Well, if you want to try it tomorrow, easy. Get a SPAT trial license, go on the SPAT page, press try, get a license, and then everything gets installed from the FLUX Center. And our FLUX Center, where is my FLUX Center? It's on the screen, I know, but there it is. And the FLUX Center there, you can install the Ableton Live Tools for SPAT. You can install the SPAT Revolution software, and then you'll be good to go and practice for 30 days as much as you want. And then you can jump on a subscription for a month to start longer, and so on and so forth. So a lot of possibilities there with proper instructions. And then, as I say all the time, feel free to actually hit our user group. We have a user group that we try to stay very active. If you're already on Facebook, you've seen it. We answer a lot of questions. No question is a bad question. You feel free. So, my friend, My friend, where are you, my friend? You're right there somewhere. Yeah, there you are.
Yep.
Well, I think that we are pretty much good to close this for today. Thank you very much, Arsene. There's always a lot to cover. Eh? There's always a lot to cover. We could make more sound
Yeah,
and spin
always.
more stuff, and I could have you do a live set maybe next time, and it can go on for for hours, and then just about setup and rendering and how to do Atmos. Yeah, it's a complex subject. It can get complex. The idea is to start small, and this is what Ableton does with that template. Boom, it's on your master, you're in stereo, add an object, add two objects, stay in stereo, maybe move to binaural, and you've got a good start, and then obviously you can think about creating for domes, creating for larger setups, for different deliverables as you grow your experience in SPAT Revolution. So thanks for joining.